Today, this episode is going to give back to your life. It's going to give back to your health, give back to your fitness, and it's going to be the one thing that will impact every single other aspect of your life, including your business. Welcome back to another episode of All or Nothing in Real Estate. I'm your host, Matt Smith, the founder of All or Nothing in Real Estate. This podcast is a movement to give back to this amazing industry that has given so much to me and my family. And guys, today I've got a very, very special episode. As I said, this podcast is to give back to the industry. Today, this episode is going to give back to your life. It's going to give back to your health, give back to your fitness, and it's going to be the one thing that will impact every single other aspect of your life, including your business. I'm speaking from personal experience. And so I know everyone listening is going to make a commitment around their fitness in 2025. Every single one of you are going to. But how are you going to do it? Where do you start? And today on this podcast, we're going to break that down for you. And it's not going to be coming from me. It's going to be coming from the best of the best. We have Alec and Shannon Cheplak from Cheplak Wellness. Guys, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us. Epic intro. And I know I'm gonna, but how the heck am I gonna do it? And that's what's happening in New Year's resolutions. And I think with a lack of clarity or a lack of perspective or unrealistic expectations, it'll be here today and gone tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so I love the conversation to be about, okay, I'm supporting and encouraging. I'm not making fun of you for your New Year resolution.
Never.
I'm not. I could poke, but I'm not gonna. And what I am gonna do,
I might poke a little.
Right? I'm going to support you in making sure that 6 months from now, when it's no longer just another new year, you're still sustaining the standards and habits that you started in January.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to see anybody fizzle out. We want to keep you going. We want to see you next year on the same day, better than you were the year before. And that's the main focus that we always have.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And we can go all day long on the statistics of failure rates of New Year's resolutions and all that, or poke fun. And I'm going to put my flag in the ground and I'm going to talk about a successful New Year resolution. And what that looks like to me is one where next December, you don't have the same problems that you had this December, mm-hmm. because the problems were solved and they were sustained, and you go into the next year just adding on top of it instead of having to restart from where you're at or in a worse situation. So. Mm-hmm. That's the path we're going to go.
Yeah. Before we dive in, just a quick intro. I don't want to bore everyone with your guys' intro. And I know you said you don't want intros, but I want everyone to understand, if they don't already know you, most people know you that listen to this show. But if they don't already know you, we get some new audience from this show, which I'm confident we will with this message. Just a little bit about your guys' background, your expertise, so they understand they're actually talking to experts that are walking the talk. It's not theory. This is proven not only with your guys' selves modeling and demonstrating it every single day, but also with the hundreds of clients that you've helped at this point get massive, massive transformations.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I'll start. 20 years combined experience, over 20 years combined experience. I'm 29 years old, and 13 years of my life have been dedicated to this. Almost half of my life has been striving toward this mission. We have both individually been coached by some of the top, most winning muscle contest coaches on the planet. And Shannon was able to manage her competitor career as an athlete while also working in a big corporate company, managing over 200 staff and employees. She was the problem solver. They fly her out to different countries and hotels. She shows up and she cleans up the mess while also being a high-level competitive athlete. So that just goes to show that she's an example at 42 years old for other women. And also while doing these big corporate careers, that you can actually demonstrate what excellence looks like in both your personal and professional life simultaneously. And I had a bit more formal education experience on this one career path where she had a lot of practical experience balancing real life and being an athlete. I was also mentored by one of the best, just as she was, but I got certified and had an opportunity to be the personal fitness training instructor at Advanced Training Institute in Las Vegas. This is a 10-month course trade school where we would do 3 to 4 hours a day in a formal classroom setting, diving into the sciences, the textbooks, the classwork, the quizzes, then immediately going to apply the science we learned that day in a full-size gym on campus for another 1 to 2 hours daily, taking the textbook and putting feet to pavement in real life so that my students who graduate would be prepared to take their master trainer certifications and go on to be high-level coaches. So there's definitely levels to this. There's levels to what's formal versus what's practical. And also, I spent a good decade of my life doing 12 to 16-hour days, booked back-to-back personal training clients in corporate gyms and also as an independent contractor. So we met together in a gym. We partnered up. We have been able to retire now from her corporate career prior and from my personal training decade. Felt like I lost a bit of me there. And we've gone full-time with Cheplak Wellness, and we coach some of the top team leaders, brokers, and agents all across North America.
Yeah, we met both personal training clients. So I was actually a personal trainer and a coach in between the corporate. So it wasn't just I went from corporate to this. I was actually a personal trainer and a coach in the intermittent before we started Cheplak Live Wellness. But even him saying that with all of his formal education, I live with a formal education instructor. So basically I have all the formal education without actually being in the course because I live with the instructor.
Yeah. So just before we go into the value give, I will say it's been the most beautiful relationship partnership and a big reason why our business has done so well because of her skill sets and real life experience. And then my classroom experience and gym floor experience, we've combined it and been in complete alignment with this mission and built each other up. And she has so many strengths where I have weaknesses, and vice versa is also true. And we've come together to build a pretty flawless or bulletproof process, highest chance of success, lowest chance of failure. And it's been proven time and time again with our clients.
And I want to thank you for that intro. Like, if you guys don't believe now, they know what they're talking about. Like, probably just stop listening, right? This isn't for you. But not only do they know exactly what they're talking about because of all their accolades, but I've seen the proof not only in my own transformation, but also in hundreds and hundreds of close friends and other top leaders that these guys are coaching and giving the advice and giving the practical knowledge so that they can make the biggest change that they've made in their entire life. Like and I'll do my best to post graphics and things for people that are watching this visually so they can see in the editing of this. But like the results are just astonishing that you guys have helped people facilitate for them to create for them their lives. And I want to go back to something I said in the intro. I think that it's really important as we're going into 2025, every single person that is listening to this wants to make an impact in their fitness. They want to make an impact and they want to feel better. And if we feel better, we can perform better. And so I think too many times as busy business leaders, we have it backwards and we're shooting at the wrong target. And if you don't feel good, it's really hard to perform good, especially for a sustained period of time in this tough market that we're in. And I just want to encourage you to really lean into this conversation as we give you as they give you practical knowledge here that you can apply so that you can actually start feeling better. You can build confidence in yourself. You'll have more energy and everything will change in a positive direction in your life if you just follow the advice and the practical steps that they will give you today.
Thank you for that. Appreciate you, man.
For sure, man. So let's dive in. Let's start simple, right? Let's start with if someone is, and this goes for all aspects, and I want to hit on this too, because someone could be listening to this and be intimidated by your guys' expertise. But I want to make it very clear, and from your guys' words, it's like, yes, you guys do coach and train like people that are pro, right? They're bodybuilders. But you also coach and train someone that's never been in a gym before. Right. And so can you kind of unpack that dynamic? And then where does someone start if they're getting into this program?
So the dynamic is you'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. You're better off having the elite coach you as a day one beginner and have more information and resources than you need than have someone who's a day one beginner as a coach riding side by side and it's the blind leading the blind. That's the practicality of having high-level coaches, even if you're day one beginner. Second to that is an elite coach, which I would like to consider us, actually having empathy and understanding for the human being who's not a pro, who's just figuring it out, who may feel intimidated, who may have fear and self-doubt, and still being human and humble enough to understand we all started somewhere. And if they're stuck on that starting phase, how can we meet them where they're at? And that's where the practicality comes into play. You have this big resume and education, sounds good in theory, but what about when feet hit the pavement? What's the first baby step to take? And so knowing when to give what piece of advice along the journey and adding to it as you go, instead of overwhelming human being and information overload and paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, instead of measuring in the minors, we want to just get the basic daily standards going for people before they're worrying about all the big picture, nuanced details. We want to just the baby step standards, just the things that you need to start, not to overwhelm anybody, because we want this to be something that you can do long term. So we just put in standards and KPIs, we call them. You guys are all familiar with that. So that things that you track daily, because that's how you make progress, is by tracking what you're doing daily and then build on that.
Yeah. So to piggyback on what she said, I'd love to break down what a complete lifestyle change looks for you right now. If you're a day one beginner or you're an expert, what are the 5 pillars of a lifestyle change, lifestyle intervention? And on each of these pillars, we'll actually do our best to give you bite-sized measurable KPIs for each one that you could do now at any level. We're going to go in order of the 5 pillars. This is what we found to be the appropriate order of operations. Number 1 is mindset. Without the right mindset, everything else will fail. Anything we tell you that's practical today, because we're going to give you action steps, if you do not have the right mindset, you will not even go execute. So get your mindset right first. A good place to start with mindset is to no longer be reactive to external circumstances that you cannot control. And I have empathy and understanding for real life challenges. For example, we've been in and out of the ICU about 73 times the past 2 months with my sister's 27th heart surgery, upcoming 28th. And it's not a woe is me story. It's a life's going to happen. Things are going to happen beyond your control. And the right mindset is, what can I control and what can I do based off current circumstances? And I know showing up to the gym those days, during those challenges, those days, I was better prepared to handle those challenges. So go to the gym, get your gym membership, but that mindset of like, I'm going to focus on what I can control, and I'm going to do what's required to get the outcome I said I want to experience. And then a practical KPI, which I learned from Dustin Runyon, we coach his whole real estate team, was a concept called attitude check. And so he will walk up to his team members and say, attitude check, and see where their mindset's at going into their calls. And so a practical KPI for you on day 1 of your fitness journey is to have an attitude check every morning. Write down things you're grateful for, and right at the, when you wake up, and at the end of the night, write down some wins from the day in your fitness. Get your mindset right. Wake up that you're grateful enough that you have 2 legs that work, that you can go to the gym. Wake that you have a healthy heart and you can go do cardio, that you could do, that you can afford to buy groceries and do these things. Mindset check first. This is practical. Don't think this is like voodoo. This is practical. Get clear on the right mindset and have measurable KPIs. At the end of the night, if you hit more steps that day, that's a win to write down. If you went and lifted weights for 30 minutes, that's a win to write down. If you, drank less alcohol that day, that's a win to write down. So your first KPIs are your mindset. In the morning, what you're grateful for. This is a privilege. It's not a burden. To take care of yourself is a privilege, because there's some people who can. And then at the end of
the huge. Dude, unpack that. I've never heard that before. But so many people get stuck in the mindset of like, it is a burden because I don't have time to, or it's really difficult and it's challenging, and like I sweat and stuff when I work out, and like all these things that we tell ourselves as an excuse. Like, how do you wrap your mindset around it's a privilege?
Shannon does this one all the time. It's how you talk about what you're doing.
I mean, it's the way you believe about what you're doing in the day. Really, that affects everything. Like if you wake up and say, I get to do these things, I'm capable of doing these things are bettering my life. That is so powerful, as opposed to, I have to do this today. I don't want to do this today, things like that, because I strongly believe you are what you say you are. So if you are saying, well, I don't go to the gym at 5 a.m. because I'm not a morning person, you can make yourself a morning person. You know what I mean? You can make yourself a night owl. You can make yourself a morning person based on the schedule that you choose for yourself. And I do believe there's a statistic, if you make yourself wake up at a certain time of day for however many days consistently, that becomes, you reset your rhythm to do that. So saying, well, I'm just not, it's just you're choosing when you say those words out loud, you're choosing to not do these things, and you're choosing to put something negative on something that you have to do, where even, we can talk about these things because we've been doing this for so long. And Alec and I were clients way before we were coaches because I've been an athlete since I was 4 years old. He, was competing at a young age before he even became a coach or chose that for his path. And like when you're excited about the path that you're taking, it takes on a new light. So that's the one thing I want. And that's why and I know sometimes we're going to talk about it. I like New Year's because I want people to be excited, like to change something. I'm like, get excited about it. But we want to keep that going, even in the hard times. When we're talking about like the hard times and things we're going through right now, there is not a single day where I wake up through this and I say, today sucks, or today's rough, or this is going to be hell week. We have all these things going on or whatever. We're like, what are we going to do today? What do we need to do? Like, how can we make this day better? So,
So
so many of us speak life. We speak life to negativity, right? That's really what you're saying. So I want to summarize a couple of things you said there, because those of you that have listened to this show before, you understand that I'm a freak around mindset. I think everything starts with mindset, especially your fitness, anything. And so there's a couple of things that are principles here that I think everyone can apply. Number one, control the controllables. Write down red light, green light. What are the things that I can control? What are the things that I can't? And if it's in a red light, just forget about it. There's nothing that you can do to affect it, right? So just control the controllables. I also think that if you're not changing it, you're choosing it. I think that's huge, right? And also, a lot of us struggle with the power of choice. And I want to remind everyone that not making a choice is still a choice. Not choosing to wake up is still a choice. Not choosing to wake up early or do the workout or eat the right foods or whatever it is still a choice. And so we think we're avoiding the hard choice, but it's making our future self regret and harder life because we're not making the choice. We think we're avoiding the choice, but it's still a choice. The last thing is the mindset of I get to versus I have to. Like the attitude of gratitude. I think that's really, really good stuff.
Yep. So next time you go to say something negative about something that you said you want to do, I want to get healthy, I want to get fit, I want to lose weight, and then you go complain about what's required to do it, interrupt yourself, pattern interrupt, and change your language patterns and say something positive about it. That's practical. That's applicable.
So good.
Yeah. Especially if you have children around you, like you want to speak positive into those things because they're watching you talk about it. And that's why regardless, we do anyway because of the profession we're in. But when we're around his son, it is we're going to have healthy food and we're going to do this and and it's always positive talking about those types of things because we want that mindset of this is good for you in your future to be engraved in him.
Yep.
That's so funny. I think a lot of times our kids teach us lessons, right? But I think also what you said is it just reminds me of, and I got this from Ed Milet, most lessons are caught and not taught. So our actions speak louder than words. And so what are we actually doing? Like a lot of us tell our kids, hey, you can be anything in the world you want to be, right? But then we give up on our dreams. We tell them they can be in the NFL or they could be a basketball player, but we're overweight and sit on the couch every night eating Doritos, right? And so like, we're telling them one thing and then we're showing them something else. I think if we just model and demonstrate that behavior, amazing things happen. As an example, my 7-year-old, she works out with me. Probably half of my workouts, she works out with me. Right. And she's got her Barbies and she's playing while we're working out. And like, she just enjoys it. And it's quality time that we get with each other. But also it's really funny. Like as an example, we'll be at a get together or a kid's pizza party, something like that. And she will ask me, hey, Daddy, what are you going to eat? Because I know you need to get protein. Yeah. Right. Like, and so, you know what I mean? Like, it's just things like that. And I'll make some kind of protein yogurt dessert or something instead of eating the brownies. And she'll want me to make her a bowl because she wants to be like me. Right. And so I think these little habits, I just wanted to stay here because that really resonated with me that's part of my life now because of being in your guys' circle, that now like I'm demonstrating that to my daughters and like they are following suit. So it's not just something that we say, it's like it's actually happening.
They're watching, they're following suit. My dad, my son and I went out to Protein House and my dad had the plate of pancakes. My son got steak and salmon. So, so y'all might need to check yourselves, not the kids. They ain't the problem.
Those are protein pancakes.
They are.
They have there. Give him some credit.
No, I love my dad, but no. And so people say I want to eat healthy, but I got kids, and I don't know the last time my 8-year-old son drove up to Smith's and bought my groceries for me. So, are you buying the groceries? Kids buying the groceries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought.
All right. Let's move on. So number one was mindset. What's number
second one is second one's nutrition. Let's get practical. Okay, what to eat, how much to eat, what not to eat. Straight up, how do I do a meal plan?
Write this down if you're watching. We're given the game.
Number one, what gets measured gets improved. There's like Harvard studies, and Alex Hormozy said measurement as intervention even in one of his videos. And if you just start tracking, you're going to improve it. Mm-hmm. So if you make 0 dietary changes and you pull out MyFitnessPal today and you just start tracking every day for the next year in 2025, I guarantee that your December situation is going to look a lot different than your December situation right now.
So, because we hear it all the time, I don't eat that much, I don't eat that bad. But I will tell you, it's the only way you're overweight is because you're eating too much in your food choices. And you're not moving around. We'll get back into that. But you're over consuming calories. So when you're like, well, I don't know why, because I'm not eating that much. Well, now we can track it. So you can actually see how much food and what nutrients you're getting in the day. So it's so important to have that right in front of you, because again, we have mirrors that we hold up to you every day. And that's even part of our coaching. Because if you're looking and something's 3,000 calories, you're like, maybe I just won't eat that and I'll change my choice in this situation.
Yep. So day one, don't know what to do, don't know what to eat. Start tracking what you're already doing.
Let me jump in here really quick. I think a lot of team leaders listen to this show. And so team leaders, how do you coach your agents if they don't track their calls? How do you coach your agents if they don't track their appointments? You're handcuffed. Sometimes we handcuff ourselves. And what would you do, team leaders? Let's go real estate conversation. What would you say if an agent came to you and said, I'm making a lot of calls. How come I'm not selling real estate? Well, how many is a lot? We lack specificity. And so we do that because we don't want to feel pinned in a corner. But in reality, we just don't want to be disciplined to follow a plan. And so I think it's really, really important that if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. And so are you serious about wanting to take your fitness and your health and your wellness as a priority in 2025? Simply starting by actually tracking every single meal that you eat can be an absolute game changer. So don't like discount and sleep on this one. You can't say, I don't eat that much, or that much is not a number, right? We have to be specific with these things.
Yep, that's number one. Then for what I would say on that call thing real quick is first find out how many calls your agents are making. What if they're making all the calls, but they're not getting appointments? Then you have to listen to the recording. Mm-hmm. And so what that means is you start tracking the calories. Yeah, then you start tracking the calories and you say, okay, here's what's happening. But then you're like, okay, but I'm not liking the results I get. Now look at the actual foods themselves.
Yes.
And you have discernment when you look at a dish and you're like, that took up 2,500 calories in one sitting. I should probably change that dish. Like you guys, you will learn so much through just tracking where it won't be information overload. You'll see something right in front of your face, and then you'll be encouraged and inclined to improve it on your own without even getting direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting your micro and macronutrients in after, because yes, there's calories, but you could get 100 calories or 200 calories from a piece of chicken, or you could get 200 calories from, a small little Starbucks drink. Yep. And there's going to be different macronutrients and micronutrients in those things that are going to affect your body and the way you feel so differently. So that's also part of it.
So let's talk specific macros. This is practical. If you're like, okay, I'm going to track, but how much should I eat? If you have weight loss goals, we typically suggest between 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, it'd be between 160 to 200 grams of protein daily. And then typically we'll recommend a range. Lowest end would be 0.5 grams of carbs up to 0.8 grams of carbs as a starting point per pound of body weight. So if you're 200 and you want to lose weight, we would never recommend you go less than 100 grams of carbs a day. We'd start you at 160 grams of carbs a day and leave room to decrease food later if it's even necessary. You might be at 200 protein, 160 carbs and seeing the weight loss you want to see. And you don't need to lower your carbs lower than that. Mm-hmm. You don't need to eliminate carbs. You don't need to do these things because you're already losing the weight. And then for fats, I would recommend you never go below 50, or at least not for extended durations of time. Chronic underconsumption of fats could have a negative effect on hormone regulation and hormone production. So fats we typically recommend on the lowest end about 50 grams daily, highest end 80 grams daily. So if I've given you ranges, you want to lose weight, and it's 160 to 200 protein if you're 200 pounds, 100 to 160 grams carbs if you're 200 pounds, 50 to 80 grams of fats. Maybe just start at the highest range possible, which would be 200 protein, 160 carbs, 80 fats. Track that for 7 days in a row. See if your weight goes up, stays the same, or goes down. And then all you have to do is tiny little 10% calorie increases if you're losing weight too fast. We typically recommend only 1% of body weight lost weekly. So if you lose 4 or 5 pounds that week, give yourself a little more food. If you like the pace you're losing weight, keep your calories the same the next week. And if you didn't lose the weight you wanted, decrease your calories 10%. So start with the most.
So let's come 30,000 foot view for someone that's like, I've never tracked macronutrients before. Like, let's start calories. Is there like a target? Like, I know that each has, so let's talk calories. Let's start there. Since we already gave them the like protein, carbs, and fats, what about calories? Where do I even start? I've never done this before. Where do I start?
So that's why we love using an app to track it, like MyFitnessPal, because each of those, so macronutrients, each of those has calories. So protein is 4 calories per gram. Fats are 9 calories per gram, and carbs are 4 calories per gram. So those make up the calories that you're having throughout the day. And then the unspoken macronutrient that we don't add into programs is alcohol is 7 calories per gram. For those of you who say, well, vodka's the good one. There's no calories in vodka. There's calories in that. So the calorie range varies based on the macronutrients. So that's why we love to track everything, because it's going to give you the calories in the app. So because you're not going to want to be thinking about that all day. We want to make it as easy as possible. That's why it's easy to use an app to track those things.
Yeah. Let's say if you throw formulas out the window, say that was too much. Say that's intimidating, or that's too much, Alec. I don't want to do that math. Okay. Totally fine. Just start at 2,000 calories, no matter where you're at. Like,
start there.
I'm not saying that's correct. I'm not saying that's for your goal. Start somewhere. So like, go in your app, set your budget to 2,000 calories, eat it for 7 days in a row. See if your weight goes up, goes down, or stays the same, and just change your calories by 10% for the next week. So if you're at 2,000 and you lost more weight than you wanted to, go up to 2,200. Do that for a week. See if you're doing what you want. If you're at 2,000 and your scale did what you wanted it to, keep it at 2,000. If you're at 2,000 and you didn't lose the weight you wanted, subtract 10%, go to 1,800. Like, that's the most simple way, is just start with a number and do tiny increases and decreases.
Yeah.
Love it. And you mentioned like MyFitnessPal, right? Like that app has also, if you log into it, because I'm a user of that because of you guys, and as you log into it, like there's questionnaires that it'll ask you, and then it'll help guide you to that. Yeah, it'll help you at least get close to a starting point, so you're not going in 100% blind.
Yeah,
I agree. And like, that app's not perfect. We're not perfect. The formula I gave you ain't perfect. You're going to go on Chat GPT. It ain't perfect, because every body is different. So like, you literally just start somewhere, and then either let me, Shannon, AI, MyFitnessPal adjust, like pivot and adjust with small changes, but start somewhere.
Yeah, because no two people's bodies are going to react the same, and there's so many factors that go into how your body reacts to how many calories. Your daily activity, if you're even doing a little exercise, how long have you been restricting calories, things like that will affect you, because it'll meet you where you're at. If you've been consuming a lot of calories for a long time and then you start to lower your calories, you'll start to see a reaction to that. But if you've gone back and forth and I restricted for a little bit and then I overate, and I restricted for a little bit and I overate, you might have a little bit of a different reaction to it, as well as if you're not sleeping enough. Sleep matters, things like that. So there's some little tiny details that'll affect it.
Awesome. I get asked all the time, Matt, how can I partner with you? I love what I learned in your podcast. I love what you said in this speech. I love the success that your team has created, and I want to be a part of it. I want to partner with you. How can I work with you? There's many ways that you can work with me, but one of the ways that not a lot of people are aware of is that our team has been with eXp Realty since 2018, a long time. And we love eXp for how the collaboration, the community, all the support they provide to our team and our business. And so if you're interested in learning how can I partner with Matt, what do the options look like? You can have coaching. I have a lot of free stuff like I'm giving you on this podcast, but there's so many other ways that we can partner together and we can be in alignment, we can collaborate, and we can actually help you grow your business through a strategic partnership. Just imagine this. Imagine being in financial alignment with the people that you looked up to, the people that you took advice from, and you actually work together to create a community where teams are working with each other and collaborating versus competing. So if this interests you, text me, partner, to 573-261-6778. Partner, 573-261-6778.
Let's move on to number 3. Number 1 was mindset. Number 2 is nutrition. What's number 3? Number 3 is all the physicals. It's literally the work and effort. So it's like the physicals could be progressive strength training. It could be your yoga and Pilates. It could be your steps count or your heart rate cardio. It could be sleep. It could be rest days. It could be going and getting body work or a massage. Like all the physical stuff is number 3. Our standardized approach to the physicals is that progressive overload, which can simply be described or explained as just increasing stress on your body over time, increasing training stimulus over time, is a proven path to get progressively stronger and increase lean body mass. And the more lean body mass you have, the more calories you burn while at rest. And so you're literally able to get away with eating more food without gaining extra weight. And so if you don't use it, you lose it. This is why fitness is downhill with age. It's because people don't build muscle and don't do progressive overload. So they lose lean body mass as they get older. And now the calories they ate in their 20s, now in their 40s makes them gain weight. And they're like, I used to be able to eat whatever I want. And it's because you had more lean body mass. And as you got older, without progressive strength training, your metabolism literally slowed down and you lost lean body mass. So this is why progressive strength training is in our program a standard. And if you love yoga, you love Pilates, you love these things, you can keep them in your lifestyle. I have no gripe against them, but they are not a replacement for progressive overload with lifting weights, resistant training. And I typically recommend you start with a 3-day split. It could be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's a very basic push, pull, legs training split, which would look like chest, shoulder, triceps on Monday, back, biceps, even some glutes or hamstrings you throw in there on Wednesday for the posterior chain, and then full leg day on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. So I have something here that I think may be beneficial to someone, and Shannon, I'll turn this one to you. But I've heard this over and over, and I've heard it from all groups, so I'm not going to single anyone out. But when they hear progressive strength training, progressive overload, they're concerned, well, I don't want to look too muscular. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, I would say, and like I said, we don't want to put it in any group, but like I look at the women because I don't want to get too big and bulky. You know, it is really hard to put on a significant amount of muscle especially for a woman, and especially if you're lifting 5-pound weights. I'm sorry, you're not going to get real big and bulky. So this is something that I think people, the perceived thing is I'm going to step into the gym and as soon as I lift a weight, I'm going to put on muscle, when it takes years to do something like that. And even talking, and as you age, it does become a little progressively harder in life to put that on, especially if you're not having sufficient nutrients to support the muscle growth as well. But it's just not going to happen without prescription intervention. I'm just saying that. Without like PEDs, which are the performance enhancement drugs for a woman, you just aren't going to look big and bulky like a man. I've been trying 20 years to look too big and it's not happening yet. So
yeah.
And so I've seen you lifting weights too, and you make me embarrassed. And so if it hasn't happened for you,
she lifts really heavy and she's not bulky. She's very feminine.
Well, the one thing, and also just not to go, too far, but when you lift weights, it's not only for, building lean mass, which is muscle on your body, but it strengthens your bones as you age. So when these women are worried about, menopause and things like that, well, if you have stronger bones, you have less risk of those injuries or those side effects too. The things that come as you get older, and even you prevent it from happening as quick as it could happen with this lifestyle intervention. So when you ever see people like, oh, I fell and I broke this or I broke that or I did this, and progressive strength training actually helps with that.
So let me give you practical. Either use pen and paper like they did in the old days, get a little spiral notebook, use your notes app in your smartphone, or use a training app like the Strong app is one that people use. We personally use the Trainerize app for our clients and do the exact same exercises every single week, month over month, year over year, and just focus on doing one more rep or one more difficult set or 2 more pounds on the bar or any measurable KPI where you improved your performance and progressively got stronger. That is progressive overload. And now if you're losing weight in the fat loss and also progressively getting stronger, you're eating a good amount of food. If you start losing weight fast, but you're progressively getting weaker, meaning you're not beating the logbook, then you're not eating enough food. And so it's going to be a really missing link if you try to do diet without strength training or strength training without diet, because you want to have a relationship between controlled calories and progressive overload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even in talking, you're thinking about like, oh, maybe I'm in my 30s, 40s, or even 50s. And you're like, oh, I just want to lose a little weight right now or these things. But you're not thinking that you're setting yourself up for your 60s, your 70s, your 80s. This is what the real thing is with progressive overload. So if you're not even just strength training in general, if you're not like, oh, I don't want to get big and bulky. Well, I want you to be able to function and pull yourself up out of a chair and do those common tasks that you're going to need to do as you age. That's even more important in the path.
Yep. And then more physical KPIs is track your steps or track your heart rate. Mm-hmm. Either one is fine. Get a step tracker app or on your phone or one of those watches. We suggest 10K steps a day, 5 days a week, or 30 minutes of zone 2 heart rate cardio 5 days a week. And so zone 2 heart rate would be 220 minus your age equals your maximum heart rate. Then you would take your maximum heart rate and multiply it by 0.7, and it would put you right in the middle of zone 2 heart rate, which is a very low heart rate that can typically be attained by just a brisk walk. Mm-hmm. And so it sounds big and fancy, but it's a brisk walk and zone 2 heart rate sustained for 30 minutes, 5 times weekly. If your schedule is harder to deal with, that may be easier. If you're someone like me who paces when you walk and talk on marketing videos or on discovery calls or just between me, I pace like crazy. I'm at 10K steps by noon. So
I say he's a shark circling me. Like I'll be sitting, at our kitchen, island. I like to work there. The sunlight's good. And then we have our dogs and everything. And he'll be on a call and he's just circling me like a shark. Oh my God.
So yeah, steps counter heart rate, physically get stronger and actually track it. 7+ hours of sleep a night. Start tracking it with a bedtime routine, just shutting TV off or get off your computer or whatever. That's a starting point. And if bedtime routine isn't enough, get a Whoop or something to track the quality of your sleep. And then you could supplement magnesium supplements or sleep aid supplements that are non-prescription, that are over the counter, that are natural. And then if you still have issues, you need to go get a sleep study with a medical professional, because sleep apnea is a very real risk. And it could make your life a lot worse. So quality of sleep and duration of sleep is extremely important, and it's measurable with data. So we took strength training, cardio, and sleep, and then take a full 1 to 3 rest days a week, maybe 1 to 4 rest days a week, depending where you're at. But get stronger, walk more, sleep better.
Mm-hmm.
All starting.
What's number 4?
Number 4 is over-the-counter supplementation. We keep this short and sweet. Biggest mistake is the first thing someone asks when they sign up with us is, what's the best supplement I should buy? And I said,
I was guilty.
It's mentality. It's what's out there.
They just paid on the phone, and now they're going to ask me the question. They say, what sub should I buy? I said, slow down there, Turbo. You didn't even buy your groceries yet.
Yeah.
So Foods are the best supplements, and then you use over-the-counter supplements just as dietary supplements to get what you can't get from food alone.
Yeah, I'll start getting Instagram ads. What do you think of this? And I'm like, don't do it. What do you think of this?
What are like the 2 or 3 most common supplements we recommend, and why do we recommend them?
Creatine, number one thing I'm going to tell everyone to take. And there's even recent studies that it helps with Alzheimer's, brain cognition, like all of these things. Creatine is one of the most, besides protein powder, if creatine monohydrate is one of the most studied supplements. So whether I was strength training or not, I would encourage people to take creatine daily.
Yeah, physical and brain benefits.
Physical and brain benefits. Yes, of course. Magnesium. Magnesium helps with digestion. It helps you sleep. It helps you get that restful sleep and calm down at night. And there's other benefits to magnesium as well. But, the 2 really important things that I love. If you're not, I always suggest people get a protein powder because most people aren't having enough protein in the day. It just 99% of people, when they come in, they'll track their food for a day. And I'm like, that's not even a quarter of what I would suggest. So definitely a protein powder, because we do focus on protein, and it helps you get it in where you can't get it in. What else? What other
fiber. If you underconsume fiber, have a fiber supplement, Metamucil. If
you just reminded me the other one, and a greens supplement as well. If you're not getting, because sometimes people are, I love to
like
it up.
Babies.
Adults,
they don't like their green veggies, man.
I don't know veggies. What it is. I'm like, what? It's so funny. And we poke at it, but I'll say it right to a client. I'm like, you are like an overgrown toddler. Like, you will not eat a green vegetable. I love you, but I got to give you fiber and greens powder to get some fruits and veggies into you. So yeah, definitely make sure you're getting enough fiber. And unless you have an issue with high blood pressure or an issue with salt needs to be a part of your diet, because that is sodium and electrolytes, is because that is how you hydrate. But if you do not have salt, you're not going to hydrate. It helps you with that. So yeah, those are a few things.
Yeah. And so we're not hating on supplements and vitamins and minerals. I'm just saying they're in 4th place for a reason. It's because get your nutrition in order first, then see what you need to supplement in that you may be deficient in. And that leads right into pillar number 5, which is medical intervention. And medical intervention looks like not avoiding the doctor.
Yeah.
Go get your blood work done. Go get a full blood panel. Go get a full physical. Go check for cancers, or like do a full on, at least, minimum twice a year.
Yeah. Blood panel.
Especially as you get older. The more info you can get from medical professionals, the better. The reason for that is clarity and direction. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone needs to take prescriptions. There are appropriate and responsible times and places to take prescriptions. And so I don't want to sweep the elephant under the rug and act like Ozempic doesn't exist, or testosterone replacement doesn't exist, or like thyroid medications don't exist, or statins, or all these things that people take. There's appropriate and responsible use of these things. And in our society, I do believe they can be a net positive when they're life-saving interventions where people would die without them or have a very low quality of life without them. On the other end of the spectrum, though, I do believe a lot of these things are being glorified and misused, like just because you want to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks for your next vacation versus you're really trying to turn your life around, and you may have some challenges where you need medical support to also incorporate, and you're also focusing on the other 4 pillars of your lifestyle on top of these things instead of just going straight for the prescription route.
Yeah.
So you mean I can't start with number 5 and number 4, so go to the doctor and get these drugs and then get all the best supplements and I'll get my dream body? It doesn't work that way?
Well, for most of society, it does. And we show up and we tell them about 1, 2, and 3. And they're like, wow, this is new information to me. And I'm like, well, you skipped the line there, buddy.
Well, and I think in all seriousness, though, like if you just go through you get your mindset right, your nutrition, and you have some sort of physical activity that you track and progressively overload, like your need for number 4 and 5, I don't know what percentage it would decline by, but I just imagine it's astronomical.
Yeah.
Because let's do those things first, right?
Yeah, we've seen it, because someone will come and say, "Oh, I had this." Because even if they're not our clients, like we just talk to people every day. So we are huge on contribution. I will talk to women all day, open book, ask me the questions. Like I'm there to help regardless. And someone will be like, "I got this news from the doctor," whatever it may be. And I'm like, "Okay, well, when did you get that news?" "Okay, 3 months ago." I'm like, "What steps are we taking to make that news better?" "Well, I haven't taken any." And I'm like, "Okay." So that's the one thing is, so now you have this and they don't want to take medication, which is totally fine because they know that they can change and fix it without medication, but it's not bad enough yet for them to fix it. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
we change, we either move towards pleasure, we move away from pain. That's one, two things. So if either of those isn't enough for you, most people aren't going to change it. But you can change these things with just little changes in your daily habit. It doesn't have to be something huge. I think that's where people get caught up is they think it has to be this huge, crazy intervention when we can make small changes.
Yeah.
And I think too, we talked about that at the intro is like too many people like want to play the short game with fitness and health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like I think one of the differences in what you guys teach and help people with is like it's a lifestyle change. This is some stuff that you can do. Yes, there are phases and there's different things that we could break down and fat loss and all of that, but like it's a lifestyle change forever. And if you just do these things, your quality of life will be forever better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing. There's not one thing we've recommended in this podcast in these 5 pillars that you can't do forever.
Yeah.
There's not one thing I told you that's not sustainable for 10 plus years. So like in your January resolution, dive into these things, do these things, of course. And if you're going to do something else, ask yourself, can I do this for the next 10 years? That's the $1 million question. And now let me give you one specific example. And I don't ever want to sound like I'm coming off from a place of judgment. I just want to share an observation. Because people do skip the line, Matt. They skip the mindset, they skip the nutrition, they skip the training, they go straight for supplements and straight for drugs. And I'm going to give you an example. And we were on a conversation with someone, and they were sharing some prescriptions they were taking. They take a prescription to help them sleep. They take a prescription to help them use the restroom. They take a prescription to help them have more energy. And then we got a little curious, and we said, "Do you drink alcohol by chance?" And the person said, "I'm in real estate. Of course I drink." And I said, "Well, thank you."
That shouldn't be funny, but it is.
It's hilarious.
We're like,
but it's
oh my
unfortunate.
God.
And that was the response. And I said, "Well, can I share an observation with you?" I said, "You just shared with me that you're taking 3 different prescriptions to treat symptoms of alcohol abuse. Not being able to sleep, having low energy, indigestion. 3 symptoms of alcohol abuse." And so alcohol abuse, drinking less or none at all, is part of number 2, which is nutrition. And so if this person were to eliminate the consumption of alcohol, they may be able to reduce or eliminate the 3 prescriptions in pillar number 5 of medical intervention. And so like a lot of these medical interventions, don't get me wrong, there's scenarios, double-edged sword. Unfortunately, people have non-lifestyle related health concerns. My sister was born with heart disease. I have empathy. I'm not being judgmental. On the other end, though, and I don't wish this on these people, but there's a lot of people with lifestyle-related health concerns that are 100% a result of their lifestyle. And if they were to get these first 3 pillars in check, 80% of our illnesses as a society are either treatable or preventable entirely through these lifestyle interventions. And so it's like knowing all 5 exist and knowing I do respect an appropriate time and place for prescription if it's like needed, or if they have their whole lifestyle in order and they want an extra little boost, no judgment, you know what I mean? But let's get these other pillars in order along the line as well. Let's do the full lifestyle intervention.
Yeah. I mean, even if you need a boost, I support things like when someone is just trying to find a reason, like do dry January, just do it, see how you feel, like do some, like, yeah, have your little hurrah at New Year's. I'm not going to tell you not to, but because we'll never tell you you can't drink. We say drink less or none at all. But if there's a reason like, hey, I'm just going to do this with my friend because it's a challenge or something like that, but dry January, just really pay attention to what your weight does and how you feel, and pay attention to how your energy is and your anxiety and how you're sleeping and all those things, not just the fact that you're not drinking. because then you have contrast.
Yeah. So that's really, the 5 pillars, man. It's real simple. Mindset. I control what I can control. Nutrition. I control how much I put in my body and what I put in my body. The physicals. I progressively become a more capable human being. And then that includes rest and recovery. Over-the-counter supplements. I supplement what I can't get from food alone. Medical intervention. I have clear data, because sometimes some people have been unhealthy or ill for so long that they don't know what it feels like to be healthy. Don't know. And so if you didn't get your blood work because you can't identify symptoms, doesn't mean you aren't ill. Because it might have been 5 or 10 years that you felt this way. You don't even know you have symptoms. You just think that's how life's supposed to be.
I feel fine.
So go to the doctor's office, dude. See if you got any illnesses going on or not, and get clarity and direction on, can I do this with lifestyle, or do I need to go prescription route?
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good. I think those 5 things will help everyone that's listening here. And I really appreciate you guys sharing that. I got a couple of questions that I wrote down that I started here that I wanted to ask while we're in those 5, but I thought it would be good to maybe compile them here at the end. So I want to talk about like mistakes that people make, right? We give them the plan. What are the common misconceptions or mistakes that you guys see in these pillars that are like the biggest obstacle for someone to get the results they desire?
Well, I mean, most people this time of year, we could talk about fat loss mistakes, because most people this time of year, that's what they're doing. They're trying to lose weight. We just had the last 6 weeks of the year, holidays. Some people got that holiday weight gain, and this is the focus for the year. So the first thing is trying to do too much too fast, and that's the biggest one that's going to happen right away. It's where I want to lose 10 pounds in a week, or I want to lose 30 pounds in a month, or something like that. Not sustainable, and you're going to fizzle out. The harder you go, the quicker you go, you're going to fizzle out quicker. And not only is it going to be harder, but also you're not just losing fat, you're also losing muscle when you do that. And it's going to even slow your metabolism down even more and make it even harder, because if you lose 10 pounds in a week, it doesn't choose that it's coming from fat. You're losing it from muscle as well. So that's the one thing. We just suggest 1% of body weight per week. No more, no less. That's the goal, is 1% per week, because it makes it maintainable, attainable, and enjoyable. We want you to eat as much food as possible while doing that.
Yep. So
that's the key there. Say that again.
Yeah.
You want them to eat how much?
I'll summarize it. So literally, I'm sorry to interrupt. You want to eat as much food as possible while still losing 1% of body weight weekly.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a perspective shift for everyone listening, because I know it certainly was for me. And I'm the guy that is the host of a podcast called All or Nothing. I get going all for something and going extreme. But if you can't do it for a sustained period of time, it's not really worth it. And it's probably causing more harm and stress than good. And so take that all-in mentality if you're like me, and take that all-in mentality on following this plan specifically for this day, and go all in on that plan. Instead of saying, if your 2,000 calories is where you need to be, well, I'll cut it to 1,000 because it'll speed up my results twice as fast. That is a recipe for disaster. And I see too many people do that. They go from 0 to try to be the hero. And I think what I've learned from you guys, from my own journey, but also observing and listening to the value you guys bring consistently, is like incrementally getting better, stair step it. And I think it's again, I want to say it again so people understand what you are recommending from proven that has gotten the best results that I've ever seen from someone that does what you guys do, is I want to feed you as much as I possibly can while losing 1% of body fat per week. That's 100%. A mindset shift for a lot of people that don't have that guidance, right? They want to starve themselves.
I stand on it 100%. The risk of the other mistake of losing weight too fast, like she said, is you're going to lose fat and muscle. So now you're going to burn less calories while at rest. So now you're going to gain weight back faster, and you're going to lose weight slower. So it's literally going to make your life harder.
And you're going to feel like shit.
Yeah, you can really tank your hormones.
That matters.
So you can tank your hormones and things like that while you're doing that as well. You can cause actual damage to yourself.
So,
go ahead.
You go, baby. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's the one thing. So we want to pump the brakes on the food. And then the next thing that even goes along with that. So say you're going on this and you have your calorie goal and you go over your calories one day, then the next day you punish yourself, you take all your calories away. We don't do
Yeah.
that either. We're not going to do that. Like you have a high calorie day, you had dinner with your family or something, whatever the case may be, where you went over your calories or you consumed too many calories. You do not punish yourself the next day and take all your calories away. That's a punishment and reward system that creates a bad relationship with food if you do that. So, we want to hit the recommit button. That's what we're huge on is anytime something happens, we want to analyze why you did that thing in the moment, how we can do better next time to prepare for it, and then just hit the recommit button and keep going.
I love it. I love it. So there's another thing that we talked about earlier. So that's like a nutrition around fat loss. What about this? What about someone that is maybe hesitant to do number 3, which is the physicals, and they've never really been to the gym, or maybe they just don't enjoy it, or whatever their objection or thought process may be.
It's such a valid.
What if they say something like this? Well, I'll just cardio myself to my dream body.
That was the next thing, the mistake.
Yeah,
I always do the fat loss mistakes. I always talk about it with people because it's just common. Cardio in the moment that you're doing it, say, you're choosing to do an hour of cardio a day. Well, there's a couple of things with it. It works in the moment that you're doing it, meaning it's burnt. If you're doing those hours of cardio, you're going to burn the calories because you're doing the cardio. The moment you stop doing that cardio, it's not going to work like that anymore. Number one. Number two, your body starts to adapt to cardio as well. And your dream body isn't hidden behind that lean tone look, isn't hidden behind cardio. You're just going to start getting thinner and losing muscle mass and all of those things. Your cardiovascular health might be good. But if you want that lean toned look, you've got to strength train.
Yeah. And so to give a little bit more specifics on exactly what she's saying, I believe you should do cardio year round for the rest of your life. I believe it's one of the best things to increase quality of life, your health markers, your longevity, 100%. The context with which she's saying is trying to cardio your way into weight loss.
Yeah.
So like using cardio for the fat loss and weight loss only for that. So like lifestyle wise, do it.
Yeah,
year
love
round,
it.
forever. Yes. But when we're talking about like getting a certain body composition, it's the body composition you want is going to require that you build more muscle. If you just cardio, so people will say like, I'm going to lose the weight first, then I'll start lifting weights. Okay, well now if it takes you 6 months to cardio your way there, that's 6 months you could have been building muscle. So you're basically postponing 6 months of progress you could have already made with strength training while doing your cardio and losing weight. And so it's like, that's why we do complete lifestyle intervention where cardio is a standard, but so is strength training. Like you don't have to choose either or. They're both extremely valuable. But I tell people if you're looking at metabolism benefits, I'd say look at cardio if you're a team leader, like you're selling a house and you get paid for the transaction. And then look at lifting weights and building muscle, like recruiting an agent and you keep getting paid every time they sell.
Yeah.
And so literally like doing that cardio session, you sold a house. But building muscle, you just recruited another agent. Which one's going to add more total revenue at the end of the year? The recruiting the agent,
Love it.
So yes, do both. I'm not saying get out of production and stop doing cardio. That's not what we're saying. What we are saying though is like the metabolism benefits and the body composition look that you want is going to be built upon progressively getting stronger and building muscle.
Love it. Love it. All right. I got 2 more questions for you and we'll wrap this up. So we talked about mistakes. We talked about giving the blueprint of where to start for everyone. For you guys have coached so many people that have won in their physical health at such high levels in so many different variances, right? What is one of the most common things that you have seen amongst those that actually maximize the results when they commit to this? I stumped them. This was my surprise question.
You didn't stump me. It's one thing always. There's no reluctance and there's no avoidance. They take extreme ownership. They are willing to look in the mirror. They are willing to open up to someone who they trust and confide in. They're willing, like they never feel like they're doing enough.
Yeah.
They always feel like they could have done better. The second they're done, they're happy with their win, but they're thinking, I could have done this better though. They're always forward thinking. They don't play by finish lines. They reach there and they say, but I could have done more. What could I have done better? It's this like constant student mentality. They never believe they arrived. They're always open to advice, criticism. They want to know what they did wrong and what they could have. They're curious. They're like children. They're curious. They're students. They have a white belt mentality. And I've seen this from people we've helped. Janae Daniels lost 90 pounds on her way to 100, all the way up to professional bodybuilding clients I've coached. They always just want to know, like, I could have done better. What could I have done? And either they'll be willing to say it themselves or they'll be willing to ask for the feedback from you.
We love when people ask questions. Like, ask us questions. We want you to know. We don't want you to be like, well, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm just doing it. No, we want you to know the why behind what you're doing.
They have a desire and curiosity to be better.
Yeah.
It's a desire and curiosity to be better.
That's so good. So good. I think that would carry over in every aspect of life. Really, really good. All right. Last thing. And guys, thank you so much for your time. This has been so much value for me, and I know for the listeners here. So I appreciate you guys' time, taking the time to be here. If someone is curious and wants to like learn more about how to get in touch with you, ask you guys these questions you love sharing, and maybe even a little birdie told me there may be something really special you guys are brewing for someone that may be curious. How do they find you, and what is this new special thing you guys are working on?
Yeah, the first one is we're always going to be a free resource to you, and we are on a mission of contribution, whether you choose to hire us or not. So let's start there. You can find me on Facebook at Alec, ALEC. Last name is Cheplak, CHEPLAK. You can immediately find my wife after you friend me because I tag her on my posts all the time. Friend us both up. I guarantee, I will bet you $1,000 cash that I'm posting more free tips in the newsfeed than anyone else you follow. I'll bet you money right now, both of us. I mean, we live in the newsfeed.
Yeah, everybody's like, you guys are so omnipresent. You're everywhere.
That's number one. Friend us both on Facebook and get the free game and see what our community is about. Number one. Number two, we have a special surprise for everyone. January 6th through March 31st, we are hosting a $12,000 cash prize, 12 weeks transformation challenge. Collectively, the group lost a combined 413 pounds in 12 weeks for our last transformation challenge. I have the data and receipts to prove it. And the winner thought he had to lose 10 pounds, ended up losing 30 pounds. And we got to have a very fun phone call with him and let him know, hey, Nick, you just won $12,000. There was some laughter and some tears and some special aha moments for a guy in his 40s who's married with kids, who was in the best shape of his life and didn't believe it was possible. And 3 days after the challenge, we're going to be calling one of you. And we're going to be saying, hey, fill in your name in the blank. You just won $12,000. So you can find all the details of the challenge, the price point, the rules, the judging, what you receive for participating at cheplakchallenge.com. It is CheplakChallenge.com, all one word. And you can book a free discovery call with us. One, get clear on what you need most support with, what path we suggest you take, whether you buy or not, and then explore what it looks like if you do want to buy or not. And we'll decide if you're a good fit for the program or not.
Yeah.
So good. $12,000 cash prize up for grabs. As I said in the intro, if you're listening to this, especially if you got this far, you want fitness and health and wellness to be a priority in your life. These two are the two that can help you get there. I personally vouch for them. I personally coach with them, and I wouldn't have them on here if I did not recommend them highly. So for whatever that's worth for you listeners, I got nothing to say that. It's just truly how I feel. The contribution they have given to myself and to the community has been unmatched. And so if you're interested to learn more, go to cheplakchallenge.com. Follow them on Facebook. I'm sure you can get on his email list. There's so much content that they are giving out to give free game to help you become healthier and more fit and just really work on your wellness overall in 2025. So guys, thank you again so much for being here. I appreciate your time. Anything else you want to share before we log out here?
Dude, we love and appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
I'm super grateful
We
for your
appreciate
friendship
you.
and all the work we've been doing, man.
Mhm.
I love it. We're gonna have an awesome.
Dude, I'm signing up for the challenge. So whoever joins, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah. You're gonna have to beat Matt Smith, ladies and gentlemen. So good luck.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you.
Have a
See ya.
great day.